Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and today, if you don't have 70 spare dollars, like Polyomino games, and are easily caught up in others' enthusiasm, then I suggest you click away from this video right now, because today we are covering Planet Unknown, and I am indeed enthusiastic about it. So, let's go into it. Let's talk about the game. This is a late pledge special, by the way. This is one of those late pledge special. I don't know what I'm saying here. This is one of those with a late pledge access that you can late pledge this game up until September 25th, I believe it was. It might have been the 28th. I'll put it down in the description down below. But just in case, assume the 25th until you look more into it. This is one where you can late pledge to get the game right over here on GameFound. They currently only, no, they have both the, nope, they have just the deluxe version of the game available for late pledge. I'll save you some time in advance and tell you that's the one I recommend getting, hands down, but we'll come back to that shortly. And this is a Polyomino drafting game. This is doing something the same and doing something different at the same time, and it has me caught up in the actual game, as well as the fact that I have indeed played this on Tabletop Simulator. So yes, there is a Tabletop Simulator available if you want to give this game a shot. I believe the links are in the project description. If not, I'll try to include them in the my description, I guess. But ultimately, this is one that I am excited about. I have played it and enjoyed it, and I think it's a safe back, and I have more than enough evidence to support that premise. In any case, back to the game. So, Planet Unknown. What is this game? What is going on? Let's cover the basic game. Let's cover the gameplay, how it works. Let's cover the pledge levels and do the whole usual thing. So this is a Polyomino game. If you're not familiar with the term Polyomino is basically a Tetris-style game. Games like Cottage Garden, Barren Park, Patchwork, Isle of Cats, and so many more. Project L. Project L is one of my new favorites, actually. I'll have a review on that at some point. Basically, this is a Polyomino game where you're taking these Polyomino pieces and you're trying to fit them onto your player board for one reason or another. And that will depend very strongly depending on the game you're playing. But in Planet Unknown, you mostly are trying to fill up your planet. Your planets are down over here. These are your planets over here. You can see a gameplay kind of overhead shot in progress. Multiple people with their planets trying to fill them up. And you will get points for a variety of things in this game. I'll cover the points going so you have an idea of the goals you're going for. To begin with, you'll get points for every single row and every single column you complete on a planet. That's one thing you're going to get points for. You can see over here these little green circles. Those are your life pods. You will get points when you successfully collect those life pods with your rover. So when you move your rover around the board, you can collect those life pods. Alternatively, you can just crush them by putting down more planet pieces, but then you don't get the points. You don't lose points, but you don't get points. So, well, that's a thing. You'll get points for collecting meteorites. Meteorites will occasionally land on your planet depending on the piece you take, and then you collect them with your rover. You'll be able to get points for that. You'll get points for scoring cards. In every game, there'll be different scoring cards at play, where you compare different metrics. Who has the most water tiles on their planet? Who has the largest collection of greenery? Who has the most of a certain type touching the edge of the board? Similar to Barren Park, very similar to Barren Park, or perhaps some of the objectives in Isle of Cats, where you basically have some sort of defining aspect of scoring that will trigger how you place your planets in different configurations. You'll get points for that. And then lastly, I might be missing something. I'm doing this on a quick overview. Let me find this here. Here's an example of one of those scoring cards. Have the most civilization squares on the edge of your planet. Win, you get 5. Tie, you get 2. And then, there'll be points for some of these over here. There'll be milestone cards you'll be collecting throughout the game. Some of them will be in-game benefits. Some of them will be points. And then lastly, if I can find a screenshot, here we go. Over here, there are these player boards, which you'll be slowly leveling up, and I'll cover how you do that. You'll be slowly leveling up these player boards as you place different tiles. You'll see like 5 different types over here, then we'll come back to that. But along with different in-game benefits, meaning these will give you different benefits doing the game, such as moving your rover, unlocking technology, earning certain single point pieces that you can put down to fill gaps. There'll be different objectives, but additionally, those little gold numbers that you can't really read over there are points. So as you go up different tracks, you'll score points. For the most part, there are extra points across the board. But on water is a very heavy point track with a lot more points going on. It's more of just a heavy point earning area. In any case, how does the game actually play? So what you do over here, you grab this Lazy Susan that you saw up here. Let's go back to this picture. You grab this Lazy Susan over here. You rotate it to a certain direction. You pick one of those pieces. Every other player is forced to pick from the area of the Lazy Susan that orients towards them. And there's always 2 options, and you can flip them to try to figure out how to place them. You place them on your board when they have to touch another tile. Their first tile has to be placed on the edge of the planet, and your second tile has to be placed touching your first tile. There are ways to get around the to technology, but that's the basic idea. And then every single tile has 2 terrain types on it. You will update your player tracker, that player board we showed you a second ago called the corporation board. That corporation board you'll accelerate on 2 different tracks depending on the 2 terrain types you placed. And yes, there is a 6th terrain type that is wild that will let you update whatever it is touching. This one over here, whatever it's touching, you'll be able to update that. So there's variable in how that one works. And then basically that's what you're doing over here. You're trying to upgrade your terrain tracks in different ways that you think will achieve the best balance of scoring you both your own personal planet, any scoring cards you have, as well as the various goal cards that are in play. Do that efficiently throughout the course of the game, and that's it. That's the game. It is fun. Well, let's get to the review later. It's fun though. Shh. Anyways, so let's cover the campaign. We've covered the game, we've covered the overall. Let's cover the pledge levels and the campaign options here. Now, the pledge levels are kind of, I don't know, maybe they're a waste of time, but it's still relevant for comparison. And I say that because the retail edition option is not available, probably because only 105 people picked it anyway, versus most people, 3,397, picked the deluxe pledge level, which I recommend. That is the better pledge level in my opinion. The usual thing, which is the retail option, even if you prefer that, get that in retail. It will be cheaper in retail. Now keep in mind, this does have free shipping to the US. Take that into account on both these options. But $49 with free shipping to the US, I guarantee you this is still going to be cheaper than $49 in retail once you factor in your free shipping at $100 on whatever online store you patronize. I recommend BoardGameCo. But from there, basically, the retail options are rarely worth choosing, but it's still worthwhile as a comparison because we're not comparing it to this one over here. Rather, what we're doing right now is we're comparing the $69 deluxe option to the roughly maybe $30, $35 this will cost in retail. So you're basically paying $70, and again, US is free shipping, other areas are subsidized shipping, so it's fairly cheap. Even international shipping was like $10, $12, which is very affordable, as you all know if you watch a lot of Kickstarters. And so we're comparing that $70 option to what effectively is $35, half the price in retail. We are not comparing it to the Kickstarter option. We are comparing it to the actual retail cost down the road. So is what you get in this game worth an extra $35? And we're going to cover that both from a personal enjoyment stance as well as from resale value if this game is not for you. The short answer, to save you time, is yes, is my opinion. Personal enjoyment's more up to you, and selling it on the aftermarket if it's not for you, that I can more back up with relevant examples. So let's come to it. This over here, what are the differences? To begin with, offhand, there are no gameplay differences. All of the aspects in the game that were unlocked, and there's a lot, and we'll come back to that because I want to talk about it, but all the aspects in the game that were unlocked for both retail and deluxe, all gameplay elements. What you have in the deluxe is exactly what it sounds like. It's a deluxe version of the same game. So the biggest thing right off the bat is this custom injected molded Lazy Susan. When you are playing this game, do you want a nice Lazy Susan that rotates very cleanly, or do you want a rotating piece of cardboard that does not? Which one do you prefer, and is it worth an extra $35 basically in what you're paying now versus later? Then we have these triple layer boards. Again, same idea. You're going to be moving tokens up these boards. These are single layer player boards. I don't know if they're hard cardboard or thin plastic, and I say that because one of the earlier reviews had a thin plastic thing being waved. I don't know, meaning it's basically it's very thin. I don't know what the actual plan. It may very well be hard cardboard, but even so, I don't really care about that difference. I care far more about the fact that these are triple layer with, your little pieces indented so they're not easily moved around or bumped or shifted. Again, something to take into account. Do you care about it? Will the aftermarket care about it? Let's find out. Over here we have wooden meteors, and life pods versus premium custom molded plastic bits. Now I'll acknowledge plastic always has me a little worried because especially the glare on these, I wonder if it's like more of a chintzy plastic, but either way, I drastically prefer the look of these, the feel for these, the look of these and how I think they will look and feel on the player boards, but again, personal preference to a degree. And then finally the wooden first player marker. Those are the main differences. There were some other differences I believe in stretch goals, like they have some upgraded in the stretch goals that would change that, such as for instance, I think they had like the Rover Minis have more of a wash in them. In fact, I don't see the Rover Minis here, so I guess everyone had it. Over here, the Rover Minis are probably some over here. Here's the Rover Mini. The deluxe version had more of a wash to like make it stand out more, so that's good. Nice thing or whatnot. But most of the stretch goals were more gameplay differences, and those are both for deluxe and retail. So what you're doing here, what we're talking about is basically paying an extra $35 for a premium Lazy Susan, some deluxe player boards, and some molded bits. Is that worth it to you or not? So for you personally, that's a personal determination you will have to make. $35 for a whole other game, it's basically the cost of a whole other game. Is that worth it to you? And again, keep in mind, I'm presuming $35 in retail. It could be that it's actually going to be a little bit more. For instance, this $49 price tag, I'm assuming that reflects closer to a $45 or $39 MSRP. It might be a $49 MSRP, which might bring that actual retail cost closer to $40 or $42, depending on which store you're frequenting. Geez. So basically, somewhere between 35 and 42 is the likely retail price tag. So that's the gap you're trying to close, and factor in sales and percents off or whatever you try to do when you buy online. So that is the difference we're trying to close here. You have to decide for yourself if that's worth it. Having played this game, I enjoy it and very much feel it's worth it to myself. And if I didn't, in general, for me on a personal level, once I like a game a lot, I like paying for the upgrades. I like having a deluxeified experience. But again, that's a personal determination. In terms of the aftermarket, that is something that we can talk about, because I am going to be comparing this game to Isle of Cats. Not because gameplay, although that's a factor. I actually, fun fact, Patreon push over here, I have a podcast that I just talked about Isle of Cats and my opinions on it up on my Patreon. Exclusive content basically every week, or somewhere in that range. So once a week I put something up exclusive on the Patreon. Feel free to join for the low cost of $2 a month. You get access to perks, unlocks, choosing schedule, whatever, stuff. Anyways, back to this game. So I'm going to be comparing this to Isle of Cats less from a gameplay stance, but more from a stance of looking at how Isle of Cats did, what the aftermarket was like. And the reason I'm doing that is because Isle of Cats is the only other comparison in terms of a deluxeified Polyomino game that had a deluxe and retail edition that the aftermarket significantly, well, let's go into it. So Isle of Cats over here was available for £50 or £70 plus shipping. I believe shipping was not included. Free shipping was included. So £50 or £70 for Isle of Cats. Compared to looking at this right now on Game Nerds, for example, it's $35 plus $17. So basically talking about £70 versus $52 for that deluxe thing over here. Both have free shipping. So that's £70. I don't know what the conversion rate at the time was, but somewhere in the range of, say, 80. So 80 versus 52. You're paying an extra $30 for the extras of Isle of Cats. Same basic range over here. Same basic range in terms of the upgrades you're getting. What were those upgrades in Isle of Cats? So there were some gameplay differences because of the tiles you got, but effectively what you were getting in Isle of Cats is you got larger cat meeples, you got wooden fish instead of the cardboard fish, and then you got a variety of extra cards and extra tiles. Not a ton, but definitely enough. It was the Kickstarter pack, Kickstarter extras. So they had some gameplay, but having played Isle of Cats, I will say that I don't feel that gameplay difference, meaning it's extra tiles in a giant bag full of tiles. In no way did I feel that gameplay difference. I'm not saying that as a pro or a con. I'm just saying for context, for me, it was more about the deluxeified extras as opposed to the extra tiles, because while they are there, they don't impact my gameplay experience in the slightest, at least in my own opinion. So that's basically Isle of Cats. And how did it do on the aftermarket? So if we look at Board Game Geek, you can run down over here and look from when it first started selling all the way to today, and you can see that initially Isle of Cats was selling for above its cost. If you look through some of these links and whatnot, you can see that people were able to sell the deluxeified version of Isle of Cats for above what they paid for it, even including shipping. And as always, over time, that's the hype, that's the market being excited. I missed the Kickstarter, I want to get it. And then slowly but surely it drops over time. But even now, even if you scroll all the way up to now, and you specifically have to look at which ones are retail versus which ones are not retail, but even now you can still see listings that reflect that people are getting back their initial investment in Isle of Cats, what they initially pledged. It's basically in the same range. You might lose $5-10, but it's still holding that deluxe Kickstarter edition, even though it's only a handful of extras and probably not really worth $30, is still being valued by people who want that edition. So Isle of Cats is holding its value, and I believe, and this might be my own personal bias, I believe Planet Unknown is giving a better value for that deluxeified extra, primarily because of this Lazy Susan tray. While the deluxeified bits in Isle of Cats are nice, and I do think they're nice, don't get me wrong, I think that the Lazy Susan is such a gap in the gameplay experience that is well worth the extra cost that people are going to want to get for this game. I believe if you get the deluxe edition, then it is going to hold its value Like, no question. Initially, for sure, when this game first hits the market, for sure, but even as time goes on, I believe the deluxe edition of Planet Unknown will hold its value. And they address this in the FAQ in terms of availability. They address what's the difference, why back to the deluxe, holes in the tiles, let's come back to that. But basically, they do say that it's possible they will release a deluxe upgrade pack and sell it themselves at conventions or whatnot, depending how the game does. So there is no guarantee that the deluxe extras here in this game are exclusive. Keep that in mind. That being said, again, same thing as usual. Initially, it will effectively be exclusive, and even over time, it depends how well things do, and it's always a hassle to get things at conventions or to go to online stores. Very often, people don't check publisher stores to buy stuff. They just go to Board Game Geek Marketplace or eBay and just buy what's on there. So even if over time it's available, I do not think it'll hurt the value of this game. That's something you can look at when you see other publishers who offer deluxeified bits on their stores. Very often, people still just buy the premium stuff on marketplaces because it's easier. Nobody really jumps to every single publisher store. Not nobody, but a significant amount of people don't go to publishers' websites to buy the upgrade kits over there. So, that is everything going on in the game. Basically, in case that wasn't clear, the should you back it is an absolute yes. If you like Polyomino games, if you are worried about the value, whether you should or shouldn't back it now, this is a clear and easy back in my opinion. I don't even think it's a choice. In fact, I'll have to see. I'll think about this. I'll include, basically, I have this thing on Patreon, another Patreon push, sorry about that. I have this thing on Patreon where once a month I pick a game, or I try for once a month. I pick a game that I offer insurance for, where I'll buy it from you if you have a hard time reselling at the value. I may end up picking this, but if I do so, I'll include a link down below. I have to think about it. I have to look it over. It's basically a once a month thing where I guarantee you'll be able to get your money back. In any case, and I really think this is a strong back. Sorry. Okay, back to the game. So that's basically it. That's the comparison. Let's talk about my review of it. Let's talk about some of the stretch goals, because I am so excited about this game. So to begin with, I played this game before doing a deep dive into the campaign, meaning I just played it recently because I knew I was doing this video. I specifically reached out to the publisher, said, hey, I'm doing a video. I'd love to play the game to be able to give my opinion. So I hopped on with the publisher and played the game. That being said, I hadn't yet done a deep dive of this actual page. I didn't even know what my opinion was going to be as far as the value. I just knew I like Polyomino games, and I've had a bunch of viewers request this game. So I played the game. I thoroughly enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. For me, it has the potential. This is only played it once, so call it a first impression. It has the potential to be my favorite Polyomino game. Currently, my favorite Polyomino game is a tie between Baron Park and Project L. They both do various things very, very well. I do enjoy Olive Cats, but I find that it's not, for me personally, it doesn't excel in the categories I'm looking for, and this one has a strong potential to be my favorite, but I do need to play it more to see, because my biggest concern from a gameplay stance is that it would potentially be the same thing every time you play it and therefore get boring. That being said, I don't think that I have to worry about that because of the nature of the asymmetric stuff they have going on in this game. Which is to say, this initial overhead shot, this is everyone playing with this symmetric planet. You have a corporation and a planet that you combine, and they both have a symmetric version so that everyone can play the same exact planet. But when you play, on the other side of those boards, they have asymmetric corporations and asymmetric planets to give you a different experience. Now, those not only are small little adjustments to how the board is structured, which is what a typical Polyomino game does, they give you small variations to your board or whatnot, rather they give you gameplay adjustments to how this game is played, and I am so excited to give these a shot. So what do we have here? So this is a good example offhand. This one is one of their stretch goal planets that they unlocked. Oh, no, it's not stretch goal. This is the base game, but they all end up being the same, so it doesn't really matter. But this one, you can place your tiles on ice or on non-ice, but you can't have them cross. So it's not just a structural change, it's a gameplay change. You have to make things fit perfectly within those confined areas. Over this one, you'll get points for cities you don't score, but then of course they're still in complete rows, so you have to more carefully evaluate what you will and won't score. Over here, your rovers can't cross this line across the planet. So you have to make sure you place your rovers down properly and keep into account. Over here, you have to tether your rings that are touching this the ring. You have to tether the tiles that are touching the ring, and I don't know how that actually plays out. I'm sure we'll cover it. In this one over here, each quadrant has a tile type that can't be placed, meaning there are gameplay shifts, and I'm going to scroll down to, I'm not going to cover up on all of them, although let's cover the corporations before I cover my favorite planet. So the corporations also have differences. They have different tech abilities on the side. They have different configurations of how things go. This planet, for instance, lets you unlock your green biosphere tiles more quickly, but only if you place it next to a previously placed green square. So you're motivated to keep them in blocks, but if you do so efficiently, you'll be able to upgrade your biomass much more quickly and use it for various abilities. There's every single corporation and every single planet can be combined in different ways that will drastically shift your experience, providing 130 unique combinations. I believe it's 130, I have to double check, but I think there were 13 planets and 10 corporations. So that is 130 unique combinations before you have ever played all the configurations, and 130 is pretty much the exact number of times I play all my games, so that's perfect for me because every game gets played 130 times. My favorite planet is this Tetris-y planet over here, if you can see, where the two things. First of all, you have to fill it from the bottom up, and secondly is every single tile has to be able to be slid in. That is like such an homage to Tetris, and in a gameplay element, I'm so excited to play that planet. That would just be fun. I don't even care if I win or lose. That is a fun tactical challenge. And speaking of tactical challenges, this game comes with a solo mode. So there is a solo mode. There's 28 scoring cards as well as 28 scoring solo cards that shift how you play the game. This I can see myself pulling this out and playing that little Tetris Planet solo. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy this. Again, I warned you at the beginning of this video. If you don't have $70 like Polyomino games and are caught up in people's excitement, this is a bad video for you because you should back this. By the way, worth mentioning at this point, I am not getting paid for this. In general, if I ever get paid, I will announce. I am getting a free copy from the publisher, but that was only, I didn't know that. I was offered after I basically said, oh my gosh, I love this, I'm so excited to do this video. He's like, oh, by the way, we're happy to give you a free copy. So it's not like he's paying for my opinion, but obviously if you think that in any way biased my opinion, by all means, take that into account. In general, I will say, I still have to figure out whatever, conversation for another day. But anyways, so yeah, basically, I'm excited about this game. I am, and actually, you know what? I am going to do Kickstarter insurance for this one, to double down on the fact that this is not me being convinced by the publisher for a free copy of the game, but I believe this game will hold its value. There will be a link down below for September. This is my pick for September for a game that will hold its value to the point that I am willing to double down on my Kickstarter insurance for it. Again, I always have terms in there, so click on the link to see that. But basically, that's it. So that's it. That is everything. A little bit all over the place towards the end, but effectively, Planet Unknown is a game that I thoroughly enjoy. I am a huge fan of Polyomino games to begin with, so take that into account, but I believe it is a great game. I believe it is doing something interesting to the genre. I believe it will provide asymmetric play to a degree that I want to try all these different planets and combinations. Even if I don't combine everything once, I for sure want to try them all once. That's 13 unique plays before you even try them individually, let alone in the different combinations. That is something that I am looking forward to do, and because of what they are giving you in terms of the Kickstarter extras, I do believe this is a game that will hold its value. Until next time, I'm Alex Valek from BoardGameCo. Let me know in the comments down below if you end up backing this, and until next time, have a good one.